Call this meeting to order. If you would, follow along with the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation by Eric Schmidt. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we thank Thee for this wonderful day that we have been blessed with. Father, we are grateful to Thee for the great weather that was bestowed upon our region, and we are so grateful to Thee for this country and for this region in which we live. Father, we are very grateful to know that we have the support of our community, that they fully support our city and what we do, and that they look to us to provide the safest and best services that we can. Father, we ask Thee to please bless us with Thy Spirit as we go forth throughout this meeting, that our decision makers will be blessed with the spirit of discernment, that we can have tactful discussions and understandings, and that we might truly do what is best for the city and the region. We ask these things in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Is Joseph Sapp in the audience?
Mayor. Hi.
Oh, hi.
Can we do a roll really quick?
Oh, that. Madam Clerk, would you please call it out?
Fenton.
Here.
Denham. Cooper.
Here.
Milton.
Here.
Rodriguez.
Here.
Howden.
Here.
LeBlanc.
Here.
Your Honor, you have a quorum. Please proceed.
Thank you, Hillary. Is Joseph Sapp not here?
No, he's at boot camp, but his mother is here, so we can invite her up.
That'd be great. Come on, Mom. What's your name? Sheila. So Sheila is Joseph Sapp's mother, and this is a very special You've Been Caught Doing Something Good award. On behalf of the Mayor, Board of Aldermen, City Administrator, and City staff, it is my honor to announce Joseph Sapp as this month's You've Been Caught Doing Something Good award. This award positively recognizes Branson citizens and community members who make our community a great place to live, work, and play. Joseph is receiving this award because of his integrity and courage when helping a Branson police officer in a dangerous situation. Mr. Sapp saw someone assaulting a police officer, striking the officer repeatedly with the officer laying on the ground. At great personal risk, Joseph physically engaged the suspect, forced him away from the officer, and allowing the officer enough time to reorientate himself and take the suspect into custody. He did the right thing, even knowing there would be no personal consequences if he did not engage. Congratulations to Joseph, and thank you for keeping Branson a safe place to live.
I just want to say on behalf of Joe, I talk to him every Sunday, and thank you. Thank you to the police department for the job you do, and thank you for everything.
And I just wanted to elaborate. Joe is a unique person, and he not only has elected to serve his country, but he stepped in at a moment's notice to help my officer that was truly in trouble. All of my supervisors and myself that have reviewed the video realized that this could have been catastrophic and at the very least could have resulted in a deadly force situation for our officer. He had one heck of a knot on his head as a result of this. In today's day and age, where it's very common to see people filming us, trying to catch us doing something wrong, Joseph did not hesitate to jump in and help our officers, and you have raised an outstanding young man, and for that I thank you.
Yeah.
When was this incident, Mr. Mayor? That's crazy.
When was this incident?
December? Wow.
December? Thank you. We'll continue on with a resolution giving on behalf of the Special Olympics Missouri, commending the Branson Police Department for their support and commitment towards the 2022 Law Enforcement Torch Run for Special Olympics Missouri. And I'll read this resolution. A resolution commending Branson Police Department for their tremendous support and commitment toward the 2022 Law Enforcement Torch Run for Special Olympics Missouri. You are fueled by the desire to do more, to do better, and to keep the flame burning for SOMO athletes. Whereas Missouri law enforcement embraced Special Olympics Missouri 35 years ago and created one spark that became an eternal flame. Whereas the Branson Police Department held fundraising projects to raise money and awareness for Special Olympic Missouri. Whereas the Branson Police Department is one of 133 law enforcement agencies and 3,500 officers who supported Special Olympics Missouri in 2022 by raising funds, selling Torch Run t-shirts, and/or providing runners. Whereas the 2022 Law Enforcement Torch Run accomplished unprecedented success. 93 Torch Club members, 722 runners, 4,496 t-shirts sold. Whereas Missouri's Torch Run effort are recognized internationally as raising over $1.4 million in 2021. Whereas Missouri's law enforcement is an important partner as we strive to introduce children and adults with intellectual disabilities to the playing fields of life. Now, therefore, the members of the Special Olympics Board of Directors extend their sincere appreciation and acknowledgement of the dedication, service, and commitment of the Branson Police Department to Special Olympics Missouri. You are an integral part of the Special Olympics Missouri family. Thank you for being inspired by our athletes who are inspired by you. Signed, Kathleen Bum, Chairman, Board of Directors. This is the public comment section of the meeting. Are there any members in the audience wishing to speak to the board regarding any Branson issues? Deanna, come on up.
Yep. Yeah, Mayor, this is Deanna Slatton, 187 Lone Branson, speaking on health safety.
You'll see the letter of intent and the bond issued for Kathy on this, and it's about 5G. We know now that the world has had chemical and biological weapons unleashed on the people. They used environmental sprays, heavy metals, chemical spills, and injections. These injections are grafted with Marburg's, E. coli, strep, HIV, and this causing VAIDS, vaccine-induced AIDS, which is autoimmune disease. This was brought to our attention by Todd Callender, the attorney suing the Department of Defense who forced these injections on our soldiers. We also know that the electromagnetic frequency fields emitted at 1,800 gigahertz can cause cell popping and possibly release Marburgs or whatever other poisons that they have put into the nanoparticulates. The 5G towers can emit 60 gigahertz or better, so that for sure takes care of the 18 gigahertz to pop the cells to release these viruses. At 60 gigahertz, it can cause the oxygen to deplete from the cells. This technology can fry you as well. The FCC allowed EMF frequencies of 2.4 gigahertz for broadcasting without proof of safety, and now they are upping the frequency to 60 gigahertz. They want to bathe you in EMF smog. At 2.4 gigahertz, it messes with your water molecules in your body, and wonder what 60 gigahertz could do. Sudden death? At 60 gigahertz, we know it can produce bizarre ailments like vertigo, neuropathy, cancers, diabetes, ADHD, to list a few. In fact, each time that they raise the gigahertz, we get an increased cancer and diabetes. It affects the skin and keeps it from absorbing vitamin D, which can make you sterile, and also it can ruin your immunity if you don't have enough vitamin D. Bottom line, they want this in every home, and they've caused you to become addicted to your phones and Wi-Fi, so you're happy to kill yourself. When you are hit with 60 gigahertz, it affects the electrons and the oxygen molecules and that you absorb in through your oxygen, and it dispels carbon dioxide through magnetic iron in the body. Look up magnetic biology. Saudi Arabia and India know this more than the USA. In fact, they teach it, and the USA doesn't. The Saudi prince who came up with Agenda 21 knows all about this stuff. And if we allow rolling out the Agenda 21 plan, which forces weapons on the people, that is treason. The 4G, we know, burns the skin, and the 5G can penetrate the skin and go straight through you. They are using these injections to make you transmitters and receivers, as we are made up of energy. The chemicals in these injections are composed of radioactive material called cesium-137. And we're hearing now that this cesium-137 is in every injectable, meaning every shot, because this is what helps them to control you. It's a control system. This is nothing more than mass destruction, genocide, and some might say even extinction-level event to humanity. Stop injecting unless your doctor can prove that this is not in your shots. Go online and look up these weapons. Look up direct energy weapons, microwave radiation. If you look at some of the sudden death videos, the people that are in it look like they're swatting at bees or looking at something that scares the crap out of them. These energy weapons can heat the skin and burn it and even cause sudden death. If you are an athlete, get your heart checked if you've got the injections. We hear that if you have myocarditis and you kick in your adrenaline, it can cause your heart attack. The elites are trying to cover up the crimes by making everyone get injected because those not injected are the real proof of crimes. They are now dumping the same chemicals that they've been using on the people in their protocols in the air and water. And a perfect example is the Ohio train derailment. These are some of the same chemicals used. The straight-to-human experimental protocol needs to stop now, and safety tests and standards need to be completed. Oh, and one final thing. If these activities and related activities that work together to destroy life are not stopped in this town and this county, I will be looking to make treason charges. Thank you.
Thank you, Deanna. Madam Clerk, are there any other speakers?
There are no more speakers this evening.
Thank you. So next is the consent agenda. Are there any items of any member in the audience would like to see moved down from the consent agenda to discuss? Any items from the board? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please read the items on the consent agenda?
Your Honor, the items on the consent agenda are as follows. Approval of the Board of Aldermen minutes for the February 14th, 2023 study session and February 14th, 2023 regular meeting. Acknowledge receipt of Planning Commission minutes for the February 7th, 2023 regular meeting. Acknowledgement of disbursements for January 2023 through February 17th, 2023. Final reading of Bill Number 6258, an ordinance amending Section 2-362 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to the sale and disposition of personal property. Final reading of Bill Number 6259, an ordinance amending the adopted 2022 budget for the City of Branson, Missouri to adjust monies in the Parks Internal Service Fund for an increase in vehicles. Final reading of Bill Number 6260, an ordinance amending the adopted 2022 budget for the City of Branson, Missouri to adjust monies in Police Safety Internal Service Funds for an increase in capital projects. Final reading of Bill Number 6261, an ordinance amending the adopted 2022 budget for the City of Branson, Missouri to adjust monies in the 76 SID Fund for an increase in infrastructure. Final reading of Bill Number 6262, an ordinance amending the adopted 2022 budget for the City of Branson, Missouri to adjust monies in the Capital Projects Fund for an increase in infrastructure. Final reading of Bill Number 6263, an ordinance amending the adopted 2023 budget for the City of Branson, Missouri to adjust monies in various funds for an increase in capital projects. Final reading of Bill Number 6264, an ordinance amending the adopted 2023 budget for the City of Branson, Missouri to adjust monies in the Transportation Fund to increase the street maintenance supplies account. Final reading of Bill Number 6265, an ordinance amending the 2023 pay matrix and pay guidelines for the City of Branson, Missouri employees. Final reading of Bill Number 6266, an ordinance approving a service agreement with Cody Systems for the Police Department Record Management System and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. Final reading of Bill Number 6268, an ordinance approving the contract with Night Heating and Air Conditioning for the HVAC replacement and installation at the Recplex and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. Final reading of Bill Number 6269, an ordinance approving the contract with Night Heating and Air Conditioning for HVAC replacement and installation at the community center and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. Your Honor, that concludes the reading of the consent agenda. The floor is open for a motion approving all items on the consent agenda.
Do we need their votes on the screen, or you want to do it oral?
We need a second.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there anybody in the audience wishing to speak to this? Any members of the board? Cody? Hearing none, let's vote.
The result of the vote is 5-0, motion carries. Your Honor, the next item is a presentation on Rock the Spectrum.
Hello. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Crystal Hedrick. My husband Brent and I were here last year to go over the money that we raised from the annual Rock the Spectrum event and how we partner with Culture City. And unfortunately, Brent can't be here. He's much better at speaking than I am, so bear with me. But we promised we would come back and give an update on what we have been able to do with the community. So I thought maybe this time it'd be a little easier to, with a packet that talks about Culture City and what they do. If you go to the last page, this is on the Culture City app. So someone can go in and put 65616, and these are all of the places in Branson that are certified. Now, one that is not listed on here is the Boys and Girls Club of the Ozarks in Forsyth, because they just now completed all their certification. So you can see the Branson Fire, Branson Police, and Parks and Recreation, which Eric, Ted, and Cindy have all been amazing to work with. But we have a lot of funds, and we have no venues that are using those funds. So what I would love for the city to do is maybe a press release from each department so the community knows, hey, the city's behind what you're trying to do. I feel like Branson's missing the boat on being the first inclusive city in the United States. They're growing rapidly. Chief Stadium was just done. They were at the Super Bowl, like Culture City's getting really big. And one thing people don't understand is 95% of families can't travel when they have a special needs child or someone with sensory issues. Now, that's what we're most passionate about, but that also helps people who have PTSD, which we have a lot of veterans who come to our area. And what happens is, say people want to go to a show and they have sensory issues, something sets them off, they have to leave before it even begins. So with Culture City, and when these venues are certified, these people have a calm down place, or we have the backpacks. It's a simple process. The employees get certified, they watch a video, take a short quiz, and then they know how to acknowledge someone who may be in sensory distress or whatever. So they can get a backpack. In the backpack, there's headphones, fidget toys, a communication card if they're nonverbal. And to get that, they just give their driver's license to a venue at the front desk, and then they bring the bag back, you give them their license back. It's simple. I can tell you that for police, fire, and parks, they are all certified for 3 years. We have spent $14,250 for that, just that area. Now, the police department and the parks department have a mobile sensory device, which is a little mobile thing that can be moved to a room that's a soothing thing. Those are $2,500 each. But for a venue to be certified, it's about $2,000, and that's for 3 years. If they want a mobile device, it's $2,500. So last year, unfortunately, we didn't have any new venues to bring on after our event. So you'll see a picture of a SAV trailer, which Marshall, if the police department's having a huge, get together, or Cindy, when there's big baseball tournaments, this trailer can be brought right to them, and it's a movable sensory room. So if there's people who need to decompress, then one family can go in at a time, because obviously you're wanting people to decompress. And it has a waterfall, little pegget boards, different things that will help decompress them, so then they can go back out and enjoy whatever activity they're doing as a family. So that was our big purchase of what we did last year. I was a little disappointed last year when we were here talking, because this is something we do for our community. Brent and I don't have a child with sensory issues. Our goddaughter was diagnosed being autistic at 18 months old, Shay, and so that's where our passion is. But for us, we see, and we've met so many families over the year who aren't able to travel because of their children that have special needs. So I feel like it's a great opportunity for Branson, because we are a tourist destination, to open our doors. These families legitimately get on the app, Culture City app, to see where they can go, where the most places are, where they're gonna be welcomed, or they're gonna have a safe place that they can go. So I was disappointed that last year, Mayor Milton was the only one who attended the event. We spend a lot of money personally to put this event on. This year, it will be September 16th at the Branson Landing again. And we hired the Prince Band that we had last year to come back. And then we also hired the I Am King, Michael Jackson from Vegas. So we put this huge event on. And so all I'm asking is that you guys kind of get behind, so then venues will want to step up and say, hey, we want to be part of this action. We want to help these families be able to travel and everything else. So I would encourage all of you to come to read the info. I'm willing to talk to anybody, any business owner who is wanting to listen. It's free for 3 years. And if we can continue to raise money, it'll continue to stay free, because we want this in our area. So is there any questions?
Is there any questions or comments from anybody in the audience? Questions or comments from the board?
Crystal, what is the hierarchy, I guess, of like what you're wanting from other businesses? So would be the ideal thing, a lot of them put these sensory rooms within their facility or just have the packets, or is there?
Well, most venues are already built, so there's not areas for them to have an actual sensory room. So what we're asking for places to do is, and I'll take Parks for example, because Cindy was such a big go-getter with this whole thing. You get a link, we have a call with Culture City. You get a link, you put all your employees in that link. Your employees watch a 20-minute video, then they take a quiz, and if they pass the quiz, then they're certified, Culture City certified. So they're able to acknowledge someone when they're sensory disorder, if there's issues or whatever. But they require a quiet space in your venue that someone can go to. Now, this space could simply be like at the Recplex, it's in between the doors going out and in, where it's quiet in that area that someone can go and decompress. You don't have to have a full-blown sensory room.
Gotcha.
So now, if venues are interested in sensory rooms, then absolutely, that's something we can discuss. But so far, we haven't had a sensory room done.
So where would a sensory room be, say, in a theater?
Usually, if they want to do a sensory room, they're usually just, it's even a closet space, a bigger.
Let me rephrase, not a sensory room, but just like a quiet place.
It can be anywhere where it's just not noisy. So they do recommend you get signs with once you've got your certifications and everything, like it'll say headphone area. So if you're going into a theater, there's a little sign that says, hey, you might want to put your headphones on here. With the police and fire department, they thought it would be a good idea to do sunglasses because a lot of lights will cause people to go into seizures. So the police and fire department has sunglasses in their backpacks. I would recommend that for a venue, theater show that has the laser lights and stuff. I would highly recommend that to be added to their bags as well.
Ralph?
So I think Crystal's right. 1 in 34 kids this year are going to have autism. And, 25 years ago when I was in chiropractic school and learning all about this stuff because we were having our first kid, it was 1 in 150. So in 25 years, that number is significantly compressed. And as we look at our community and the shift that we're having, we have our live shows, but we also have a lot of outside activities and venues for families, from the mountain coasters to all of the carts and just all the things that we have. We're becoming that family-friendly community. And when you think about that, 1 in 35, wow, we would miss a big part of the market from a tourist perspective if we didn't have these kinds of things available. I know how much work her and Brent have put into this. I was kind of one of their first doctors that were certified back in the early days. And, their love and passion for this and this community, if they didn't do it, nobody would. And I'm happy to say that they are definitely a force to be reckoned with because they do put together a great event. And I will say I will be there this year. You have my promise for that because I've missed a few. And but I applaud you guys for what you do, and you guys have been very steadfast and in the wake of all the challenges of the last few years and everything, you guys have always put that event first, and I think it's important that we get behind it.
Thank you. And I will say too, the tracks are in the process of getting their certification, so they're hoping to have all of their locations here in Branson certified. And then they're also looking at getting all their other locations that they've purchased over the United States, all 14 of their locations to be certified. So again, we don't want to miss the boat because Gatlinburg's right there too.
Yeah, that's really good to hear about the tracks.
Yeah.
I have been very supportive of Brett and Crystal. They do put their heart and souls into this. And as I started learning more about it, I know Crystal and Brett were invited last year to come present this at the city. I was really hopeful that with city support, meaning our police department, Parks and Rec, that this would gain some momentum. So the city supports this very worthy cause with Culture City. I don't know what we can do to try to help spur this along. If there,
I think if we could do, and believe me, I know things are hectic because we are business owners as well. Employees, it's hard to find, people wanting to work or whatever. Plus, since COVID, everybody's trying to get back in the loop of working and everything else. But I feel like if a press release was done from the city and these different departments, so these businesses see, hey, the city is certified, this is something we can do as well. Or just whenever you're talking to business people, say, hey, do you know about this program that is available in our community? Because, even if our funds run out, I can promise you, we'll make sure our funds don't run out. We'll go out there and work even harder to get the funds to make sure that we can continue to have it in our community.
Kathy, you want to weigh in?
I do. Couple of things. First of all, Crystal, thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you.
I think it's a really special opportunity for Branson, and I appreciate you being here to share it with us again. I just want to express our commitment from City Hall. You've already seen with some of our directors, but I'm sure there's some creative, fun things that we could work on to help get the word out. But I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that there's a reporter in the back of the room who has a delightful young son named Eli, who I've
Yes.
had the pleasure of getting to know. And it'd be really nice if you two could sit down together.
Yes, and
help get the
Jason has
word
been
out.
amazing and does articles before our event and just an awesome person to work for. And I know we have his support as well.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal.
Your Honor, the next item is a presentation of 2022 year-end Taney County Partnership Report by Jonas Argis.
Dressed up for us.
Wow, Jonas.
Good afternoon, good evening. Your Honor, members of the board, Administrator Stepp, thank you for the opportunity to give you a brief, high-level overview of the activities of the partnership over the last year, or 2022 at least. So we'll get right into it, and then I'll be happy to stand for any questions.
Down.
Down, up, down. Okay. All right. So real quick, some of the stats. We hold pretty steady around these numbers, 10 and 30. So 10 public sector partners. That the most that's ever been is 11. Business sector partners, the most that's ever been is, I believe, 33. Last year we brought on one new partner, and that was Snyder Construction Group for the investor group. The stats as far as announced projects and activities for 22 and 21, you can see there. So 3 announced projects, number of new jobs, 170, new payroll, 7.9 million, net or new capital investment, 26 million. At the end of December of 22, we were monitoring 23 what we call active projects. Of the new projects total, 1 was an existing business and 6 were new businesses to the county. And then you see there at the bottom that all 3 of the projects that were announced last year were inside the city limits of Branson. Down. Okay. Did I hit the star button or the sun button or something there? Sorry. So a little bit of history. So this is going back to the beginning since 2012. And again, so just as a point of reference, we announced projects to us are significant, bigger projects that we provide assistance to. We help a lot of projects. We obviously are not involved with all the economic development projects in the county, but if they ask for our help, we give it. So as far as projects since inception, 33, there you see the jobs, the payroll, capital investment announced, and then you see the under construction. That's a big number, and a lot of that is happening down south. And then capital investment completed is over 200 million. And then the 30 out of the 33 projects, almost 2/3 have been inside the city limits of Branson. Did I skip one? Nope. Okay. So project pipeline, so this is where kind of the numbers start to overlap, right? So at the end of the year, we were tracking, these are of the, let's see, 27, 33, 30, 24 projects. I was one off there, wasn't I? Because I said 23 earlier, so I'll have to check on where I missed one. But these I pull off the actual project reports. I'm going to stick with 24. Total number of new jobs reported, 983. New payroll, 35 million. New investment, 900 million. Square footage, just shy of 940,000. Then acreage, 1,454. So 3 of those projects are in manufacturing wholesale. 14 are in tourism, retail, lodging, 6 in housing, and then 1 infrastructure project. And of those projects tracked, half, 12 of the 24, are inside the city limits of Branson. So, from the stats, so high-level view, our 22 to 2024 action plan that the board passed back in 2021, 3 areas of focus: business retention and expansion, workforce development, and business industry attraction and marketing. I'm happy to say that since about April of 2020, we were back to being fully staffed in our department for the partnership. We brought on Dennis Wiggins last year, back in April of 22. Dennis is heading up our BR&E, our business retention and expansion efforts. And then earlier this year, I know this is not in 22, but earlier this year, we brought on a young gentleman named Jonas Tavares, not former, but a C of O graduate that is doing a great job with our workforce development stuff. He's our new workforce development programs manager. And we call him JT because we played around with a lot of Jonas jokes, and I got frustrated very quickly with some of those. And so he had a great idea that he would go by JT. That way there would be less confusion. So the negative thing I'll say here is that due to whatever circumstances, I don't have a scientific reason, just an understanding of what's going on, but our deal flow has significantly decreased over the last 6 months. I can speculate a lot of things due to macroeconomics and market issues, the fear of recession, interest rates. We've actually lost a couple of projects in the last 3 months, one due to cost of funds going up, due to interest rates increase and cost of equity going up along with that. I am happy to say that one of those projects have come back at a reduced or lesser scale to hopefully those numbers will work. So that was encouraging, but I'd say over the last, not counting, the issue, actually 2020 was a good year for projects, believe it or not, because there was a lot of projects that finished up in 22 that had started previous. So it's kind of a deal, but I think overall, over the last 5 or 6 years, this is about as slow as it's been. So hopefully that's just a little dip or blip on the radar, and that'll correct itself here in short order. So some of the big topics, high-level issues, concerns, housing is obviously one, and housing is closely tied to workforce. So I'll use the opportunity to plug an upcoming event on April the 13th. That's a Thursday. We will hold our Taney County Workforce Summit. Historically, that event has been held in late January or early February. But this year, the summit itself is going to be themed or focused on housing. And the reason we've pushed it back is the housing study that we completed in 2018 is being updated by the same company that did it then, RDG Planning and Design. So we hope to have, we will have those results by the end of March in time for us to review, and then we will present a lot of those findings at that event. We'll probably cap that out at about 120, 125 participants, and that will be held in the multipurpose rooms at the Chamber Building over on Gretna. So, I can stand up here and talk ad nauseum about workforce and housing, and I know most of you, if not all of you, have heard my spiel. But this to me, just my opinion, is the biggest threat to this market. You know, we talked about tourism. You know, if we do a really good job of getting people to come back once we get them here, right? It's due to the culture, the customer service, all the attributes that we can stand and tout about this you know, legacy family destination. But when if we get to the critical point of families coming and experiencing a bad time because of lack of customer service, because of lack of workforce, that starts a slippery slope that is going to be very hard to recover from, because people tend, the old word of mouth, you know, if you have a bad experience, you tell 10 people. If you have a great experience, you might tell 2, right? That's numbers I'm pulling from the air, but you get the point. We have to figure this out, right? And you know, everybody knows the challenges, cost of development, cost of land, all the things that stack up against us when we start doing those numbers. But at the end of the day, we have to have workforce, and to get more workforce, we have to have housing for them to sleep in, right? So that's you know, like I said, I can keep going and going on that deal. Highest and best use. So a few years ago, most of you, if not all of you, will remember that the Chamber did the 5 and 5 initiative. So out of that came the 76 Corridor Committee. You know, through the years, we've supported that group along with the 76 CID in the efforts to annex, to establish the CID and then to annex the additional parcels. Obviously, we've been participating in some of the design charrettes and other things that have been going on. I'm very impressed with Great River Engineering and the efforts they're doing. What I like to bring to the discussion is from the pure economic development side, right? It's great that we're doing all these things and investing public sector dollars to improve the aesthetics and the functionality of the corridor. So economic development breeds economic development. But I think what I put here, highest and best use, we need to make sure that new and improved businesses along that corridor are revenue, sales tax producing businesses, right? And so I'm a huge proponent of whatever we can do to encourage and advocate for sales tax generating businesses along that corridor. I don't think it's highest and best use to have residential, you know, adjacent to 76 Country Music Boulevard, because it does not generate sales tax. That CID and everything that we're doing for as far as infrastructure dollars, that's driven by the sales tax, driven by those existing and new businesses from that. And this is kind of how economic development works, right? We invest in infrastructure, and then the business sector follows and reinvests more and generates the sales tax to help pay for the infrastructure. So I think that's a great project. That's a legacy project for this community. I'm proud to be able to play a small part and throw my suggestions and opinions in there when I can, but they're doing a really good job, and I think that's going to pay dividends for a very long time for this community. So kudos to that. The last thing I'll touch on is we're competing for investment, plain and simple, right? Capital wants to avoid risk. And so I think as a community, as a governing body, as a city, we need to make sure that we're doing everything possible to be open and transparent with not only existing business, but new business that's wanting to invest capital here. And I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not being critical, but I'll use Republic as an example, right? They have started and embraced the whole idea of moving at the speed of business, right? And so Dave Cameron, who's the city administrator up there, I would encourage anybody to go meet with him. He's got a great story about Amazon and the amount of time it took from his phone call when they called to the time they got through P&Z. They move at the speed of business. So I'm not saying we skirt any rules and regs or P&Z issues. I mean, but at the end of the day, when people are looking to invest millions of dollars of capital, they want to avoid risk, and a long timeline is risk. And so unless they're just dead set on being in this market, and then you have a little bit of leeway and grace. But I think in being that it's in our region and our neighbors, Republic is setting a great example of how to do economic development. Now, I'm not going to sit here and whine. I may sound like I'm whining, but I'd love to have an interstate running through the yard. I'd love to have acres and acres and acres and acres of flat ground that actually has dirt, not rock. But, you know, we have what we have, right? So, but I think it is a great lesson of what the city's doing, what Dave is doing up there with everything, and how, and it's obvious what they're doing. They're succeeding, right? It's, you can drive down James River or I-44 and eyeball it and know exactly what's going on. So, so enough of that. But just, I think you all know this. You know, it's a competition with every community out there for investment dollars. So, get a hold of us. I'm easy to find. Most of you have my cell phone number, or you know where I work, so not an issue there. With that, I would say thank you for your support and partnership over the years since year one, day one. And I would stand for any questions, comments, concerns, or criticisms.
Thank you, Jonas. Is there anybody in the audience wishing to have any questions on this? Any members of the board, comments or questions? Marshall?
Jonas, I always appreciate the prescient points that you bring up, and that thing keeps running through my head of you saying we don't need residential on Highway 76, you know, so I want the board to hear that. I think there's so much logic to that and value to that statement. But I just want to address this point when we talk about workforce is, will you just share with the board your opinions on the possible oversaturation of the Airbnbs as far as them taking up just a significant chunk of our housing?
Okay, so here's the disclaimer. You're getting Jonas's opinion.
Fair enough.
Right? I'm not speaking for any organization, nor my employer, nor my board of directors. I'm speaking my opinion.
You used to give that same disclaimer with the whole residential on 76.
Well, you know what? So you get what you get. I wouldn't go trying to make any bets on it or anything else. Definitely don't make any investments on my opinion. No, but so it's a very interesting dynamic, right? So the market drove that, right? So we have a robust tourism industry that people want different places to reside when they're here. Right, and so that you know, the Airbnb, VRBO, nightly rental, that phenomenon happens. So, but what that has done, two things that when you look at housing. One, you have local or regional housing developers that can now make a much greater return on their time, effort, and energy and their capital, and get a better return on investment by building nightly rental stock versus residential stock. Right, so that's one thing. Because I've yet to meet a developer that's not in it for the money. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what they do. They do it to make a return. So you have that incentive, right, to do other type of building that you know, instead of making 3%, 4%, 5% on your return, you're making double digit plus. I mean, it's crazy some of the numbers I've heard that, you know, sell to rent type inventory. That drives some pricing up, so the comps in the area go up. Well, then you factor in a decline in inventory, so it's Econ 101, right? Supply, demand, price. They work in tandem on the graph, and so it is what it is. The problem is, I'm not going to say it's not a problem. It's just the influence it has on the market in multiple ways. Right, and you take that side of it, and then you factor in the closer we are to the tourism jobs within Branson, the higher the value of the land to purchase. The topography is a challenge, right? You go up, and let's pick on Republic again. You go up to Republic, and you can probably run water and sewer lines from, I'm going to guess, $70 to $90 per linear foot. Down here, it's probably 150 plus or 140 plus. That rock pick that you hear sometime that's aggravating, that tick, 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 that's $500 an hour, right, to run the infrastructure to the development. So you have less of a return, a bigger hassle with the actual development itself. It adds up, right? And so one of the things that we have to come to grips with as a community is, what are we willing to do as a governmental entity, as the finance sector, as developers, right? We all can't get our share, right? Everybody's going to need, and this is my opinion, everybody's going to need to give up a little bit to incentivize or get housing developers to build residential stock, be it either single-family homes or or multifamily apartment complexes. Because we, talk to any realtor, we need inventory at all levels, but we need obtainable housing and workforce housing because it is extremely difficult to convince somebody to move into a market and explain to them, well, we're a seasonal tourism economy. If you get a pretty good job, there's a good chance you'll work year round. If you don't get one of those pretty good jobs, there's a chance that you're not going to work full time. So that, again, there's layers and layers, right? And so, but we have to figure out a way to get affordable housing built because if we don't, the workforce piece won't catch up, right? We can go do supplemental labor initiatives. We can do, campaigns like Northwest Arkansas is doing in Austin. I saw a great billboard the other day. Northwest Arkansas says everything's bigger in Texas, even the mortgage, right? So they're telling people, we got everything Austin has just in Northwest Arkansas. But, I mean, things like that, it really doesn't do us any good to put investment dollars into those types of awareness campaigns if we don't have the inventory when they actually decide to move here. So, sorry, that was a very winded answer.
Appreciate it. I'm all for letting the market dictate the environment, but to me, the market is dictating a need for workforce right now.
Yeah.
So whether that's zoning or whatever we have to look at that as a board, it's just, yeah, it's a tough
Also,
issue.
I think one of the takeaways from that was we all have to give a little to make it work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't want to get too far on the tips of my skis here, but we're working on a deal over in Power Site where we've got all the entities together that, okay, if we can put this together, we could do something, and everybody's gonna have to give up a little, from the utilities all the way through down to the developer. And so I think if that works, it may be a catalyst, project that can demonstrate that here's what we can do. It's a huge issue.
Jonas, how is that development coming along behind the fire station? City-owned land?
There, if I recall, again, the information in the RFP, they needed more information than was included in the RFP to make the determination on the but-for clause, right? So and last time I talked to Dan Bullock, he seemed like it wasn't a big deal, right? They felt confident, but here we are, we're tick-tock ticking, right? So it's been over a year.
Speed of government.
Yeah, exactly. It's been over a year, right? And I don't know what's going on, but I'm not, again, not being critical, but what is important that if we want those, I think, was it 540 beds in the first phase or 380 is something, I think it was 540. I could be wrong. To get that inventory for the 24 season, we need to get the review stuff and everything taken care of and allow them to get going. Now, they've started out at Silver Dollar City. They'll be done with that probably, maybe not by the beginning of the J1 season, but pretty close. And so I've done the math on the back of the napkin that if when Silver Dollar City's done, if we get this project going, at least with phase one, and if it goes through all the phases, we could have an additional 2,000 beds for summer work travel students, right? And so that is a huge plus at least for our peak season between May and mid-September, right? Yeah. The heavy warmer months. You've heard me tell you this before. I base my opinion off of what the Wisconsin Dells are able to do. Right, they're roughly a market half our size when in terms of visitation, and last year they had nearly 5,000 J1 students for their summer work. Now they have a little bit of advantage because they have the indoor water park and casino stuff, and they have more of a balanced 12-month tourism economy up there. So they actually pull students from the southern hemisphere in the wintertime and the northern hemisphere in the summertime. So they have actually 36 weeks or 32 weeks roughly of that J1 workforce in their community. So, but I think we can get to that same position eventually, because that's one of the things that we feel that we can get to also as a 12-month economy. So, but yeah, I think we need to make sure that we get that thing done.
Kathy, would you update the board when you get a chance on that? Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that is an example of everybody giving a little bit, right, to make that
Yeah,
happen.
yeah. I mean, and I think that's why, we went through the RFP process. It wasn't just, we have a lot of skilled developers that could build the product. What sets international housing or international residence halls, Holtz Builders apart is they build it, they stay and manage it, and they have the relationships with the J1 visa sponsors.
Yep.
And they have a great relationship with J1 visa sponsors, so.
Well, I know every discussion I'm in regarding economics in Branson, no matter what topic you're on, it always funnels right back to where are the employees going to live?
Yep.
Right? I mean, no matter what the subject is, that's what it all boils down to.
Well, and I look at opportunities lost, right? I just think, but if we could live in fantasy land a little bit, if every business within the city limits of Branson for the last 2 years had been fully staffed,
Yeah,
what we could have done.
great analogy.
Well, who knows what type of record-setting tax numbers you guys could have had if we would have had fully staffed restaurants, hotels, theaters, everything, if we were just fully staffed. Now, that's Pollyanna. I don't know if we'll ever get back to that place, but it's revenue, right? More sales, more revenue, people stay longer, spend more money. That's what we want, so.
And happier tourist.
Yep, exactly. Customer service.
Yep.
Ozark Mountain Hospitality was not a tagline or a marketing scheme. It was culture, or it is, but it was.
So we're going to get a report on where that is in the process.
And I would say it's incumbent on us to move faster.
Yeah.
Because, I know Silver Dollar City's doing their project, and I was in a conversation yesterday. Big Cedar's doing the same thing with Holtz. And the person I was in the
I can
conversation.
neither confirm nor deny that statement.
I won't either, but I was in a conversation
Just
yesterday.
know Dr. LeBlanc made that statement, not me.
Well, let's just say that the level of impressed that Big Cedar is with this company, from a vetting standpoint, SDC's using them, maybe Big Cedar's using them. I think it's incumbent on us to beat feet and, get this moving, because I think it is an intricate part of how we move forward, better, quicker, faster, and keep that Ozark Mountain hospitality in place.
Yeah.
We got to do it.
I'm pretty sure Dan and the team will be here next week. He's going to get back to me with some availability. He offered for us to tour the construction site out at SDC next week, so maybe an opportunity if you want to visit with him.
That'd be great.
Administrative step may want to, I can maybe help broker that a little bit and make the connection, so.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Anything else? Jonas, thank you very, very much.
You bet, thank you, appreciate it. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Jonas.
Make sure I don't run
Didn't
away
mean
with
to
a
spill
clicker.
that tea, sorry.
Do what?
I said, didn't mean to spill that tea.
I know nothing.
Tea with the fluoride in it?
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution authorizing the police department to apply for a Missouri Department of Transportation grant to fund driving while intoxicated traffic enforcement within the city of Branson, Missouri. The floor is open for motion adopting this resolution.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll get a presentation from Eric Schmidt.
Your Honor, members of the board, thank you. This is pretty much a recurring grant that we put in for every year and requires a resolution from the board allowing us to put in for the grant. This year, we're putting in for just over $7,600 so that we can pay our officers overtime to come out and specifically patrol for just driving while ability impaired violations and try to make our streets a little safer for anybody that might be considering drinking over the limit there. So we do this every year. We've had very good results very good outcomes as a result of that, and we do recommend approval of this.
Thank you. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak to this? Any members of the board? Marshall?
Chief, are our numbers pretty stable as far as over the past maybe 5 years or whatever? Now with like the legalization, all this kind of stuff, there's a whole other element to that. Is that pretty stable? Do we see a spike in that? How are we looking?
So Our numbers have been stable for now. I'm not going to lie, with the legalization of recreational marijuana, what I experienced in Colorado is we will see a spike in that as people try that and don't realize the results that will have on their driving ability, which quite honestly, with the strength of the THC, is just as likely to cause impairment as alcohol is. So I do expect to see a little bit of that. We're already training our officers up through special classes and so forth on how to detect that and also take enforcement action for that. And that would also be covered by this same grant.
Thank you, sir.
That's great. No other questions? Let's vote.
The result of the vote is 5-0. It's not showing on the screen at this moment, but
Thank
it
you.
was 5-0. Motion carries. Your Honor, the next item is a resolution authorizing the police department to apply for the Missouri Department of Transportation Highway Safety Program grant to fund hazardous moving violation enforcement within the city of Branson, Missouri. The floor is open for a motion adopting this resolution.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll get a staff report from Chief Schmidt.
Your Honor and the board, thank you. I felt a little underrepresented in the last few meetings, so I'm going to be up here for a little bit for a few of them. This one is another grant through the state. This one is specifically for hazardous driving. So whereas the previous one was where we were targeting DWI specific violations, these are more along the lines of your speeding, red light runners, aggressive driving, things along those lines that just are unsafe driving but may not be related to intoxication. So this one's a little bit more, and it also allows us to put in for some extra equipment, which will be software for our crash investigators for the very serious accidents we investigate, as well as multiple solar-powered speed signs. So we have the trailers, and we have a couple available through various city departments, but this would allow us to expand that, because quite honestly, that is one of the most common things and calls that I get is, especially in residential areas, complaints of speeding and so forth. So that's not only there to help people understand how fast they're going, but also for us to research, because it records the speed, so we can see if that's something that we need to do other engineering, education, or enforcement activities at. This is for about $27,500, and we do recommend approval.
Thank you for being proactive on that. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak to this? Any members of the board?
So you talking about the little flash lock over by in front of Vascon's Deli, the sign that shows you your speed and stuff?
Exactly.
Those record that too?
Certain ones do in this case.
And they take photographs
They don't
of these,
tell.
of that red pickup truck.
They don't
Isn't it?
record the license plate, do they?
Speaking of, we need to talk after the meeting. No, they do not record the license plates. We don't issue summonses or anything based on those. It just basically allows us to see the averages and percentiles and so forth. Most recently, we did have a neighborhood that complained, and while most neighborhoods, it tends to be a perception issue, this neighborhood really was, it was just too fast for that area. So we're looking at working on engineering avenues to help slow people down in that area.
Very nice.
I'll refer you to my attorney, Alderman Fenton over there.
Yeah, Chief, I'm gonna need a map of where those are.
The nice thing about these is we can move them around.
You could save me a discovery request, please.
Okay, let's vote.
The result of the vote is 5-0. Motion carries. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6271, an ordinance approving the contract with Hofer Welker LLC for design-build services related to a new police building and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. The floor is open for a motion to approve first reading of Bill Number 6271.
We have a motion and a second. Staff report from Chief Schmidt.
Your Honor, members of the board, this really was a team effort with us and engineering. So if you like it, I'm happy to accept the accolades. If not, we can blame the short timer back there. So this is something we've all been really looking forward to in the police department. Not only did we purchase the White House property, now we're hopefully getting underway with the architects, which is going to allow my committee of officers and employees to actually sink their teeth into some of the design pieces and see what we're after. As you know, we're hoping to basically design to fit our needs as well as the fire department, the EOC, and so forth. Approximately half of that building, while the other half would be white boxed. We sent out RFQs for that. We had two very good companies that supplied us those qualifications and their proposals. When it was all said and done, we nailed it down with Hoffer Welker, and liked mostly what set them apart was the charrettes and the ability for our committee to really be involved in the design of their new home. So with that, we were able to work out the final contract price, which was below what the fire department had, so we're pretty proud of that. And staff does recommend approval of this contract.
Any members of the audience other than the fire department have any questions or comments on this? Members of the board?
Chief, I just want to say, I know you heard earlier that it's moving at the speed of business instead of government, and this really actually feels like it's going pretty quick. I mean, we bought the property just maybe 4, 5, 6 months ago, and I'm so excited to see this continuing and just this constant progress on this project, because it's long overdue, it's much needed. So I'm very excited to be able to vote on this tonight and keep that moving down the track. So we won't have to blame Keith for anything, at least in my opinion.
All right.
Yeah, we're just all excited. We want to move this forward at the speed of business.
Chief, are you getting a chance to go out there very often?
Yeah, we do get to swing by. In fact, I'm going to hopefully be up on the roof on Friday, taking a look at it and where it's leaking and so forth, just kind of see what we have up there.
I'm going to need you to sign a waiver. Waiving your work.
Now, do you need the fire department to help you get up on the roof?
No, we factored that into, actually, we're using a different piece of equipment from another department, so.
See what from Kendall.
Kendall, there you go.
Kendall's got you covered. Okay, let's vote.
Motion carries 5-0.
See, that was a quick vote. Quicker we vote, quicker we get moving forward.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6272, an ordinance approving the mutual cooperation agreement with Taney County for a 911 emergency telephone system and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6272.
We have motion and a second. Staff report from Chief Schmidt.
Your Honor, members of the
Did
board.
you need a chair up there, Chief?
No, we're good. We're almost, we're over the hump. I appreciate your attention on this. This is another basically recurring yearly requirement for us, and this allows us to team with Taney County's 911 authority to not only supply funding for our PSAPs, which is our public safety answering points, but also to collaborate on redundancy. It's extremely important for us, should we suffer some kind of catastrophic failure, whether it's us or Taney County, that we have rollovers so that our citizens, our residents, our visitors can still get a hold of emergency services. We actually, in a reverse situation, had to do that a couple times over the last month where we were able to assist Taney County. So it's a mutually beneficial. It helps us to continue to receive our tax funding that people's landlines pay for, the 911 taxes and so forth, which allows us to keep moving on and improving our technology. And so we recommend approval of this.
There's still landlines in our community? Is there anybody in the audience wishing to speak on this? Any members of the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
The result of the vote is 5-0. Motion carries. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6273, an ordinance amending the adopted 2023 budget for the City of Branson, Missouri to adjust monies in the Police Public Safety Fund for an increase in office equipment. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill
We have a
Number
motion and a second. We'll get a staff report.
6273. I was a little trigger happy.
Hey, this is the speed of business.
I'm up.
You're right.
Good? Yep.
Mayor, members of the board. This actually is we're going to go back in history to 2018. This is part of that original Motorola contract that we did, where we got all the body cams, the in-car cameras, and so forth. Part of that contract was the dispatch consoles for a new building. Unfortunately, we had to put that on hold at the time. So even though the contract was long since supposed to have gone by, we've been continuing to update it. And Motorola has been extremely gracious in keeping the prices the same for us for all of those consoles. We were able to make an order to get that in now that we're anticipating installation. So they're being built as we speak. The one area they weren't able to control that cost on is a third-party vendor for what we call a logger. That's kind of what records all of the incoming calls and radio transmissions and keystrokes, all of that stuff. That's a third-party vendor, and the price since 2018 has gone up this amount. And so we had to order that also in December to avoid another price increase, which we did. It's sitting in my office right now waiting for a place to put it. And so we do recommend approval of this so that we can pay them for that excess piece on that.
It's great, and boy, kudos for Motorola to keep the price fixed.
They
That surprised
went
me.
really above and beyond, and they've actually taken a little bit of a hit in order to make it work, but they have been very good partners for us.
Very nice. Questions, comments from the audience? Questions, comments from the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
The result of the vote is 5-0, motion carries.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6274, an ordinance amending Section 2-356 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to the determination of lowest and best responsible bidder. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6274.
We have a motion and a second. We have a staff report from Ben Hart.
So the chief sat down and I get up, I get the second half of the agenda. This is one of the many code amendments that we're going to bring forward just to get to that speed of business. This actually allows us to issue our RFQ, and once we issue those RFQs, we get the qualifications in, we can select based on that qualification set instead of having to go back out and issue an RFP, which doubles the process. This is largely pertains to construction processes. It's also verbatim read out of the state law that allows us to do this, and thanks to the short timer for bringing this up. This is how we got to this point. Hillary is the one that typed everything up, but this is one of those pieces that will make things a little easier. We'll issue what's called a best and final of those qualified entities. We have used this already, and it was back late last year with the health insurance. We didn't have the timing to do it, so we just pushed out a best and final and got what we needed out of the qualified companies and turned everything right around. This has got a lot of uses for it. But this probably should have been last year, but we can get it sooner than later.
Many questions from the audience? Questions, comments from the board? Hearing none, let's vote. It's exciting we're doing that, Ben.
The result of the vote is 5-0, motion carries. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6275, an ordinance amending the adopted 2023 budget for the City of Branson, Missouri to adjust monies in the general fund for an increase in geographical information system. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6275.
We'll get a staff report from Ben Hart.
Yeah, so this is just cleaning up the budget that went through. We forgot to put GIS in IT opposed to Public Works. There's only one increase in here, and it's related to certain software that was part of the CIP. We just needed authorization within the budget to do it. So this is just moving GIS over to IT, over to Chad Shop.
If anybody in the audience understood what Ben just said, do you have any questions? Other than ask him to repeat it? Questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
Just say yes.
The result of the vote is 5-0, motion carries. All right. Your Honor, this is first reading of Bill Number 6276, an ordinance approving the interfund loan between the Tourism Fund and the Public Safety Fire Fund for the purchase of a fire engine. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6276.
We have a motion and a second. Staff report from Ben.
In short, this allows us to borrow from ourselves instead of an external lease. It'll save us around $40,000.
Any questions, comments from the audience? Questions, comments from the board? That was a loud statement that Ben just made. Hearing no questions, let's vote.
The result of the vote is 5-0, motion carries. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6277, an ordinance amending the adopted 2022 budget for the City of Branson, Missouri to adjust monies in the Parks Internal Service Fund for the purchase of land related to an expansion of Branson Lakeside RV Park. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6277.
We have a motion and a second. Staff report from Ben.
Couldn't explain anything better than what Hillary just did, except for to add it's 143,000 movement. We've been through this last year. Just allows us to actually buy the property.
Any questions from the audience? Any questions from the board? I know we're all excited to move that forward. Cindy's not here. Cindy, we're excited for this. Any questions from the board? Let's vote.
The result of the vote is 5-0, motion carries. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6278, an ordinance accepting a proposal from the Mitcham Tire Company for tires and tubes and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6278.
We have a motion and a second. We'll get a staff report from the short timer.
You got it. Mayor, members of the board. This is an ordinance to accept our yearly contract with Mitcham Tire Company for the not to exceed amount of $67,500. This will run through March of 31 of 23. The city used a cooperative bidding process for this contract using the state Missouri contract in 2023 and included one additional successive year. Excuse me. This renewal contract with Mitcham Tire is not to exceed amount of $67,500 from April 1 of 23 to March 31st of 24. Funds are available in the 2023 public transportation budget to cover these purchases. Glad to answer any question and recommend approval.
Any questions from the audience? Questions, comments from the board? I have a question. How many more Alderman meetings are you? One more after this?
One more, yep.
Okay, we got to load up for bear on the next one.
You bet.
Any questions from the board? Let's vote. That meeting was at the speed of business.
So Alderman Rodriguez is voting yes on that. So motion carries 5-0.
Okay. It just didn't register.
That is correct, yep.
Okay. We're at the report section at the meeting. We will start off with Alderman Fenton.
I don't know if this is as much a report as it is a request for help. I've gotten several calls over the last few weeks about the Branson Hills SID. I know at one of the finance meetings in December or January, I even raised a question. I know it shows up on some of our financial reports, but I'm getting a lot of calls and a lot of questions about when does it end? What's the status of that? I think there's just so many questions. It would be really helpful if we could get an opportunity, maybe at a study session in the near future, to really kind of line out what exactly is going on with that. Yeah, I mean, people say, well, is it, does it end on this date? Does it end, this date? And I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to answer that question. I think a lot of us have struggled with how to answer that question. I know we don't necessarily have any control over that. They have their own separate board, but I do think it would be good to try to help maybe guide that discussion between that board and some of the folks that live in that area, which happens to be Ward 2, which is, I think, why I'm getting a lot of those calls. And so It's hard. It's hard for me to field those questions because I don't fully have all that information. So I think it'd be super helpful, either a study session, finance committee, wherever appropriate, to really get some good information so that when we are getting calls from people, we can direct them to the right place or get them the information they're seeking. So I don't know if that's a report, but that's what I got. So thanks.
So Ben, you took note of that? I'm thinking Finance Committee would be a good opportunity for that. Thank you. Alderman Cooper.
No, sir, I have nothing. Go ahead.
Alderman Rodriguez.
Just like Cody, I've been getting a lot of questions about the Branson Hills CID also. Is there a way to maybe have a public meeting, have HCW there and the board and let them answer questions too, or do we know?
Well, Ben, you want to come up? The CID is a community improvement district that I don't know the city has any authority over. It's their own taxing district.
Right, CIDs are run by a separate governing body. They're linked to us only because we do the books for them. Their formation comes through the board, and that was eons ago.
But because we have citizens in our ward that have all these questions,
Yeah.
can we just facilitate a meeting with them? I know we don't govern
I'm
that.
sure we can do something, yeah, I'm sure we can do something like that.
We're funneling questions weekly.
Left and right.
Mr. Mayor, if I could ask, if you all would be kind enough maybe to send me the questions that you've been getting so I can make sure that the session's on point.
Great input.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd also like to wish Jan Fisher a happy retirement. I think today might be his last official day.
Oh,
I know he's not here, but enjoy it, Jan.
he skipped out of the last meeting. Jan, in case you're listening, probably not. Happy retirement. Keith, I do expect you at the next meeting. All the way to the report section. Anything else, Chuck?
That's it.
Okay. Alderman Howden.
Just want to say I hope Ruth gets to feeling better. Should take off. She wasn't feeling so good. And I was asked to make an announcement about the upcoming, one second here, Branson U Candidate Forum 2023, happening this Saturday, 1 p.m. at the Hughes Brothers Theater. So hope everybody can make that.
Alderman LeBlanc.
Yeah, I'm just watching as we move through some of these things and hearing some of the presentations tonight. I think it's, we do need to take the lead and really start moving at a different speed because, the speed of government, everyone knows is, fraught with red tape and just all of those things. And I think that's something with transparency that we really want is to move things at a quicker pace. And, Cody mentioned how the police station is kind of moving pretty quick, and so is the campground thing. I mean, and those are things that this board has kind of championed. When the ideas came across, we all got behind it, and we locked in, and we've pushed that thing forward with, public recognition and all of the things, and just increasing that level of excitement around the community. So I think it's incumbent on us to continue that kind of speed of business in the city.
Thank you. Administrator Stepp. No good? I would like to acknowledge that Kathy Buckley has recently passed away. She was a real leader in our community, a real supporter of City Hall, and she will be greatly missed. Other than that, I'm good.
The next item is adjourned. The floor is almost open for a motion to adjourn.
If you can't open it, we're going verbal. We have, boy, Chuck is sure anxious to get this meeting over with. We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Please vote.
The result of the vote is 5-0, motion carries.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you all.